just got back from the conference last week, the Tax and Legal 360. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Right.
Hosted by Mark Kohler.
um, so we learned quite a bit of things during that conference. Our check-in, we checked in. I remember, and the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to um, take pictures, in the with the signage and everything else, and kind of get a good idea of it was all gonna, what it was all gonna curtail. Because this is something new that we're really diving into. But really, what I brought out of this whole thing was the one percenters, and that is the elite, the people that have the money to be able to pay all these people in order to be able to get the proper tax advice, tax planning, tax reduction. That's really what we want to start focusing for our clients.
So we just came back from the Tax and Legal 360 conference. What I really liked and what I really learned was this new thing here that we're going to be getting. UTRGB is going to be getting a football program. So a lot of people may be getting, ad deals, promotions, NIL deals, and that's really what my main focus was there. As soon as I saw that class, I was like, it's going to be something new here in the Valley. A lot of people aren't used to that. So I really did learn a lot of different things from the CPAs, the different tax advisors, even the attorney that was there gave us a lot of good ideas on what you can deduct, what you can't deduct, taking percentages, just learning a lot more about the NIL industry in general.
So I guess the question is, who the heck is Mark Kohler? You know, I just found out about him like not even 6 months ago. I had no idea who this person was. And a lot of times the first intuition is that this guy's stuck up and that he's just here for the money. But the reality is that this guy, I mean, when he presented himself, and I mean, in all honesty, he took 5 minutes out of his conference. And even though he was being pressured by his assistant to get out and to go and do all this, he told the guy, "Give me 5 minutes. Are we on time? Are we okay?" And when I did that little thing with him on the YouTube channel that we'll do later on, he was so nice. He's like totally down to earth person. Really cares about us as business owners and also about tax preparers.
So, who is Mark Kohler? He's a CPA, attorney, does a lot of tax strategies for those one percenters. He calls them legal loopholes. So, the day that we got there, we went to check in. For some reason, I went downstairs by myself and I see this guy at the counter, and I'm like, wearing a cowboy hat, dressed in like a cowboy kind of outfit. I was like, I wonder if that's him. And for me, I really couldn't tell. I was like, it looks like him, but I'm not sure because I've only seen him ever in videos. So I go back upstairs. And for those of you who don't know, Fred, this is my dad. So we're always collaborating together on different videos. So I go upstairs and I'm like, Dad, I'm almost positive Mark Kohler's downstairs, but I'm not too sure because he was wearing a cowboy hat. And for those of you who don't know, he recently just got a ranch, so he's very into the Yellowstone cowboy outfits and all about that right now. So I go upstairs, I tell him, and he's like, "Are you sure it's him?" And I was like, "I'm almost positive. He's at the bar. They were probably with some colleagues or maybe some other people there at the conference." So Fred doing his thing, he's like, I want to go down and I want to get a picture. So changes, gets ready. We go downstairs. A little hesitant to ask for the photo at first, but maybe after that first little sip of that beer, got a little bit of liquid encouragement. Went and asked for the photo. He was super nice, took the time out, talked to us for a little bit, got the photo, and Fred was over the moon about it. What did we learn about on day one? Day one, Mark actually brought out somebody from the oil and gas industry, kind of explain a little bit of what's going on in that sector, how it runs, how it operates basically, and the benefits. One of the classes that I really liked though was it was a 10 basic business strategies. So 10 basic checklists that anybody can use for their business. We've got, classic deductions, automobile, home office, what else do we have? We've got self-directed ARAs, which we'll get into a little bit later. But that's pretty much that 10 checklist. I was able to kind of configure that into one worksheet, which usually when I meet with clients, it's just top of my head and I forget some of the stuff, but now I can actually do a checklist.
So in my breakout session, I went to what's called cost segregation. And I think what happens here is that a lot of us accountants, well, we're not really aware of, or tax advisors or CPAs aren't aware of this methodology of tax segregation, of cost segregation. What we typically do when you buy let's just say for all you real estate agents and things like that, or real estate people that have properties, property management, or have the actual buildings, and you're renting your units. We typically will use either 39 years or 27 and a half years in order to depreciate the asset. Well, guess what cost segregation does? Cost segregation actually is where we break up the building into 3, 5, 7, 15 years instead of taking them all at 27. So what does that do for you? That increases your depreciation, which then reduces your overall taxable income. And so then you end up having to be able to get, you don't have to pay the IRS that much in
So
taxes.
I'm going to add on that. It's not for everybody. So if you need help with that or you interested in learning more, definitely contact us because not everybody is the right fit for cost segregation. So really consider, even if you don't go with us, make sure that your advisor informs you of the risk of taking it, just so that way you're aware.
So on the second day, we learned a little bit more about choosing the right retirement plan. And the one question that one of the people that actually did the class told us was to ask our clients, what are you doing for your retirement? And so a lot of people don't have anything set up for retirement. But there's also ways that you can actually, like, you're only limited according to your adjusted gross income as to how much you can contribute every year. But the reality is that there's other avenues that you can take in order to be able to increase that amount. And then one of the things that like totally blew my mind was what's called this self-directed IRA. And what it basically means is that you become your own investor, you become your own insurance person, you become your own fidelity, and you handle your money, and you can invest your money any way you want. And thus, with that way, and because it's an IRA Roth, you can literally not pay any capital gains tax, not pay any taxes on anything that you sell, and all this other stuff. So that was one of the things that blew my mind.
So day two, what did I learn? That's where I went to that NIL artist influencers class. And one thing that I learned was what they do is when you get swag bags, right? When somebody gives you free stuff, that stuff is technically taxable. So what we learned is, their clients, what they're doing is they're either one taking a picture, sending it to the accountant, and then they say what is the fair market value or what does it cost. If you're an influencer, you get free makeup. How much did that foundation cost? And then they put it in there because that is taxable to you. So some big companies may actually give you the breakdown of what that cost is. Smaller companies may not, but you are supposed to report that. And that was one of the things that I kind of knew about, but this just emphasized it more that you should be doing that. And I didn't know that those big companies were already sending out in their packages actual 1099s of the breakdowns.
So we didn't even know who the guest speaker was going to be until that evening, until, well, the day before, or even that morning. But we ended up seeing Gene Simmons, and obviously he's a KISS member, and I don't know everything about him. Um, but we found out why you usually see them wearing sunglasses when they're performing and when they're doing these interview styles, is because of the fact that, and when we noticed throughout the whole meeting conference, is that he was, Mark was always doing this to try to see the people out there. But when you wear sunglasses, because of the lights coming through, you can actually see the people. And so, but he actually went out to the crowd and he asked some people some questions. And I remember the one lady that was there, and she kind of said, she kind of like just whispered her name very slowly, and then that's where he told her, like, you've got to be authoritative. You got to be stronger. Your verb, the way that you voice yourself and all of that, gives people that signal. So
So we saw Gene Simmons. He was there at the conference. We didn't know he was going to be there. So one thing that I really liked that he gave advice was, is he said, who is making enough money to where they're comfortable? And his response was, if you're making enough money and you're comfortable, let me keep the money that you're making extra, right? So there's always that comfort level of wealth, and he even said like he's nowhere near done, and he just wants to keep growing, keep making money, trying to just dominate in what he does. And that's what I really took away from it is, it's people say there's always something where it's enough, but is it really enough? There's always something bigger and better out there that you can do. And that's what I really took to consideration there.
So the conference overall, in my opinion, was excellent. It was great. We learned so much stuff there. The food was excellent. We got to eat outdoors. 60-degree weather in the evening, 76-degree weather during the week. So it was like totally nice, inside, outside. The conference. Mark Kohler, thank you for doing that interview with me. And also, we're here. We've learned so many things. We want to start implementing this stuff with our clients, with all this tax planning and things like that with our clients. So realize that we're here in McAllen, but we're also serving Houston clients. And so we're there, we're here, and we want to help you to try to reduce your overall tax liability. So thanks once again for joining us on the YouTube channel called Simplified.
So, Mark Kohler Conference, Tax Legal 365, it was a great conference. I'm still a little blurred from it, but bits and pieces come back. I'm really excited about what we learned. Still piecing some of that stuff together, trying to figure out, like, I want to be able to do that, and I'm going to do it. Now I just need to figure out what I'm going to invest in, what I'm going to do. And, I want to shout out Mark Kohler, great conference, 3 days, excellent learning strategies. It was just mind blowing at the end of the day. So if you're in the McAllen area or if you're in the Kyle Buda area, we're here to help you. Just have questions, feel free to reach out, call, text, shoot us a DM or message me on Facebook, Instagram, and we'll be glad to help you guys.